Hi! So this will just be a quick devlog update. I just wanted to share some of the plan of the game that I changed due to the comments that I mentioned in the other video, and some new ones, and also show off a new model for the game. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the new and improved Spore pod model. In the previous video I showed off my design, and said I'd probably be scrapping it, and I did. At the time, I did not know how it would function, and now I do. I'm not going to go into the full biological lore of how it would work, but I'll say that these guys float above the Lightstream Corridors biome, meaning you'll have to use the Propulsion Boots mod to get to them. As you can see, I was able to utilize the texture mask tool pretty well. I think I made a pretty realistic model, especially for a beginner like me. I'm very proud of this one. Pretty simple one though, I know. So there you go. New model. Okay, so in the previous video, I mentioned how I wanted to have a device where you could display any creature you scanned, and that has been added to the blueprint, which again is on a website called Trello, which you can check in the description, so please do. So I've added something called the Holo Display. I have the recipe and everything, and basically it'll just display and rotate any creature you have scanned. Then if you remember, I had people suggesting that I have your base be movable, and I didn't want to do that, but as a concession, I thought it'd be nice if you could at least have more stun pods, which you could then, add to your base a bit further away from your existing one, basically just breaking up the monotony of the, plain platform landscape of your sky base. So that has been added as well. Now, the biggest thing I added was a vehicle. I am not going to be doing land vehicles, but people kept asking, so I am going to be doing a sky vehicle called a Soul Sphere. This can be made by creating a Soul Sphere docking platform. It's basically like one of your normal platform building blocks, except it'll have a docking mechanism as well. So, Soul Spheres will be solar-powered reinforced blimp devices. They're very small, obviously spherical, and they don't have any offensive or basically any defensive capabilities as well. All they'll have is a light so you can see. I'll get into the uses of them in a second, but I want to mention that if yours gets destroyed, you can create another by depositing some resources into the Soul Sphere docking platform. They also can't go underneath the clouds, meaning you can't use it to break progression. So, it basically locks you into the sky area of the map, which is a neat way of still having, mobility outside of your sky base without breaking the game. So, why use the Soul Sphere? Well, while it's not as useful as a vehicle in Subnautica would be, the main use is floating islands, and they'll have two main things on them. One is, of course, blueprints. That's the easiest way to give a biome without purpose a purpose. So there will be blueprints that can only be found on these floating islands, but the actual resource on these is pressure jellies. So what pressure jelly will do is, when stepped on, it will release a huge loud sound which will alert some sky creatures. That includes sky beasts. So it's very dangerous. And it also blends in well, so you have to avoid it when you're looking for the blueprints and stuff. So it's just a neat obstacle. But if you use the UV mode of your flashlight, you'll be able to deflate it and harvest it. And with the use of pressure jelly, you can make pressure plates, and you can place this on your base, and you'll have to use these to coax out sky beasts. With this, I've also fleshed out all of the sky beast designs and what can bait them, because basically, sky beasts have set in stone flight paths, but with certain actions the player can take, they will veer off those flight paths, allowing you to stun them and scan them. Some don't work like this. Right now there's just 5, and I'll probably keep it around 5, but one of them, the storm worm, cannot be stunned. It's just a huge flying worm, not even flying, it just goes up to the sky because it's so big. And if you can get the flight pattern right, you can scan it just because of how long it is, you have enough time to scan it. So that one, you cannot coax out. The others you can, and there's 3 main ways. Machinery, which basically means your Soul Sphere. There's another use for the Soul Sphere. 2, body heat, organic body heat, meaning you. So that's the scary one. And 3 is sound. That's what the pressure plates are used for. So, let's just take the Sky Ripper, for example. That one can be coaxed out by any of those. Or I guess baited is the better word. And all of the other sky-based creatures have similar mechanics. So, when it comes to the Soul Sphere, you'll have to actually fly that a bit away from your base and allow it to bait nearby sky beasts. Then you can set up a spotlight that will blink and stun that beast, and then you can scan it. So there's some like neat interactions, and it creates another use for this new vehicle. So there you go. I've also added a new mod to the sunsuit, the wingsuit. This will be an extremely endgame item. This is basically for when you've completed the game, and it is the only thing that allows you to glide onto the surface without a cable chute. So basically, from anywhere on your base, you can just jump off and glide down. But of course, you'll still need a cable chute to get back up, so it still has that balancing effect. But basically, this means you can get to any biome relatively quickly once you've been in the game, or at least gotten very close to it. So there's a fun way to break up like endgame grinding. So that's most of the new stuff I added to the game. Thank you all for the feedback, and please check the trailer if you want more details. And I hope you like the new Spore pod model. The next step in the game's development is probably going to be making the player model or tool models. Then we get to the hard part of actually implementing things, making animations, mechanics, all of that. That'll probably take more time, but I promise once I have real in-game footage, I will be using that for the background. I don't want to keep using Subnautica, I promise. Alright, goodbye.